Hey guys, first regards in here, and so I'll be talking about every single primary weapon in Space Marine 2 patch 14 and tier listing them. And now we have some new heroics here. You guys have asked me to put on the list as well, and I will be doing that today. You may also be wondering why the hell is Retribution's request on a primary tier list? Well, that's because I messed up and put the wrong image here, so this one goes up in S. But the point is, we're going to go through every single option here today, and I'll be very clear before we go into this that just because something is up in the S tier, it does not mean you cannot use something in the C tier. Space Marine 2 is not a game that fundamentally requires you to use the God tier option every single time for the majority of content in the game. There are parts of content that do require that, but most of the player base is not engaging with the game like that, and they're not supposed to, because Space Marine 2 is supposed to be a power fantasy, and the game is supposed to give you multiple build options, and at the end of the day, this is just my opinion. So number one, we have the Auto Bolt Rifle D tier. This thing, there is no real reason to use this over the other bolter options in the game currently. This weapon used to be hilariously bad. When I say hilariously bad, I mean it was so bad that Saber Interactive themselves came out and said, this weapon might be shit forever, guys, because we just don't know what to do with the perk tree, and at the moment, it doesn't really have a spot compared to the other bolter options, but they have buffed it up since then. It is an okay gun at close range. It is pretty fun to use with crack and penetrator rounds on the tactical class, but the thing about weapons that use the tactical's perk tree is that the tactical is so strong as a class for bolter options that he can make even a dog shit weapon like this feel pretty good. And on a class like Tech Marine does not have the same ammo boost and things like Emperor's Vengeance or even Emperor's Judgment for damage boost, it just feels garbage. So down here in the D tier, I don't think that's a very hot take at all. Next weapon here is the Pyreblaster. Okay, this weapon used to be up in the S tier. However, as of patch 14, they have nerfed the burn in Space Marine 2 to no longer get a damage buff from the Auspex scan. That has permanently put this one below the S tier in my opinion. I think the Pyreblaster is still a very strong gun. I think it still does a ton of work for like how much you actually have to do with it. Burn is still a very strong effect in Space Marine 2, but the thing that properly put this up into like god tier status was that crazy Auspex burn damage, and that is gone. So I'd say it's a very solid pick, definitely a top tier weapon. It's just up in the A now instead of the S, and I think it's a pretty solid spot for it. And if you want to use this, don't feel bad, just realize it is not just the god king of hard strats and operations anymore. Next weapon here is the Plasma Incinerator. Now, where one weapon gets nerfed, patch 13 actually buffed up the Plasma Incinerator, and ever since the Purgation update, this weapon's pretty damn good. They made the common shot damage way higher, and because you have a AoE on that common shot, if you shoot this gun into hordes, you'll get back a ton of contested health. The damage here feels really good. Plasma boost is already very strong on this thing on the tactical, but even on the Tech Marine, this weapon is very powerful. And there's also a bug in patch 14 where crack and penetrator rounds is applying to this weapon again for whatever reason, but that'll probably be patched. But even without that in mind, I think this one is up in like the lower A tier probably. Plasma Incinerator is a great pick on every class it is on. I think it's come a long way since I would put it back in like the C tier, because there was a time this weapon fucking sucked. Next weapon here is the Bolt Rifle. Now this is the standard Bolt Rifle, not the grenade launcher portion or the Combi Melta. We'll get into that in a second, but the Bolt Rifle. How do I feel about this weapon? It is okay. The ×2 headshot multiplier version has been pretty good for a while. It's just that when it comes to precision shot damage, I think you're just better off taking different things in the game, like the Deathwatch Rogue Heavy Bolt Rifle, or even just a Heavy Bolt Rifle in general. This weapon does fit a, niche here on the tactical class where you can just build for like pure headshot damage. That is pretty strong, but the thing is, on a class like Tech Marine, I really would never take this because it's just not a good option for him, and I think you're better off with its other variants down here, like the grenade launcher. This weapon is S tier. Grenades are so strong in Space Marine 2. They are top tier in hard strats, operations, siege mode as well. And the thing about grenades is that on the tactical especially, if you Auspex scan with concentrated fire and precise calibration, you can just pelt an entire Majoris or Extremis horde and obliterate them in like 2 seconds. It is hilarious how much damage you can actually do. But on top of that, grenades have a huge amount of contested health recovery, and that contested health recovery saves your life, because let's say that you're playing Tech Marine or the tactical, and you get knocked over by like a lictor unblockable, and you were just losing like 90% of your HP about, if you, and like you're trying to get back your contested health, this takes like one shot of a grenade to get back all of that. Top tier option for that reason alone, S tier for sure, and the fact it's top tier in Siege since like patch 8, just, I mean, that puts it up in the S. I think that's not really a hot take at all. Next weapon here is the Combi Melta. Now, this is bugged in patch 14, and it's bugged in a weird way where the ammo caches are no longer giving you back the Melta portion. That sucks. I'm not a fan of that. That being said, I think the Combi Melta is okay. I think this is a pretty good side grade to the standard bolt rifle here. I think it is not a top tier option by any means, but the utility of a Melta portion here, I think that's actually quite strong on both the Tech Marine and the tactical class. Being able to trigger perk effects like Rapid Health or Rampage very easily on that Melta portion is super nice, and people really undervalue how strong a staggering effect like Melta actually is, because there are a lot of enemies in Space Marine 2 that you want to stagger. Things like Tyranid Snipers, things like minigun Terminators, and having those options against Chaos especially, super great utility. And that's part of the reason grenade launchers are so strong, and this one's really just like a worse grenade launcher, which is why it's down in B, but it's still pretty strong for that stagger opportunity. So over here for sure. Next weapon here is the Heavy Bolt Rifle. Now, the Heavy Bolt Rifle is a pretty good gun. I do think this one is above the standard bolt rifle. I'm not sure if I'd properly put it in the A tier, but I definitely think it's better than the bolt rifle is, probably over the top of B. It's really just a DACA gun. Like, there's not a lot to this thing. The headshot scope version is like okay. There's really not a ton of reason to use the Heavy Bolt Rifle in patch 14 on like the standard relic tier variants anymore. It's not to say that these are bad. That's only because the next weapon we'll get into is God tier, but Heavy Bolt Rifle still pretty good over in the B. Next weapon here is the Deathwatch Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle. This is like a top 5 heroic in all Space Marine 2, probably a top 2 actually, and this is the best in slot weapon currently for both the tactical and the Tech Marine. And really what this weapon is it's a heavy bolt rifle, but you got a grenade launcher. And guess what? All it took to take this thing up to S tier was a grenade launcher, and this is actually the best grenade launcher in the entire game. I would say Deathwatch Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle is the only reason the bolt rifle grenade launcher is not best in slot in the Tech Marine and the tactical, because this one's just a better gun effect on top of a grenade. So a really strong perk effect here, a really strong weapon in general. You cannot go wrong with this at all. And I actually say, if you're looking for a heroic to buy first, this or the Argent Edge are the ones I'd pick every single time. So definitely up here in the S. Next weapon here is the Stalker Bolt Rifle. This thing is pretty good. I think the damage output here is actually quite powerful. If you have a tac or a sniper on your team using the Stalker Bolt Rifle and there's an annoying Zoanthrope or Neurothrope in front of you, if they just shoot that shit with like 4 shots, you will body a Zoanthrope, and really like 1 magazine is all it takes with an Auspex scan to just delete a Neurothrope. And because of that, I think the Stalker Bolt Rifle's up in the A. This weapon is very strong. It is a very strong option. The only reason it's not like S tier is because it doesn't really have a ton of utility, even though the contested health recovery here is quite high, even though the damage is great and the ammo economy is okay on both the classes it is on. It is also just limited to being purely a DMR, and while DMRs are pretty good, there are many other weapons in the game that do a lot more than that, but definitely a strong pick. Next weapon here is the brand new heroic, the Deathwatch Stalker Bolt Rifle. Now, in a world where one Deathwatch weapon is S tier, one must not be S tier. That's this one. This one will give you the heroic perk effect Reconnaissance by Fire, which with 4 consecutive body shots, you will deploy an Auspex scan area with a cooldown of 8 seconds. Now, this Auspex is completely separate from the Auspex scan on the tactical, and they actually stack multiplicatively. So if you take this one on a tactical class and you deploy the Auspex off of this perk effect and you stack your other Auspex on top of it, you are giving your teammates a huge damage bonus. My only problem with this is this weapon has no piercing at all compared to the Stalker Bolt Rifle. This one has a 1 piercing versus the 4 on the A tier one here, and I think because of that, you're really lacking a lot of the free damage and like the per shot value that this one will give you. The Auspex scan area is nice, but that's really kind of a gimmicky effect. I know a lot of people think this one's like a great support weapon, but there are just way better options on the classes that this weapon is on, like the Deathwatch Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle, like the other option here with the Bolt Carbine we'll get into later. And it's not a terrible weapon by any means. I would probably put it up in the B. The only thing that kind of sucks on this is like a weird perk activation where at the moment The consecutive 4 body shots you require to trigger the perk effect, those will only take effect if you actually hit them consecutively with no other types of damage in between. And what I mean by that is if you put out like a shock grenade right now and a single damage tick of that shock grenade happens while you're trying to get your 4 consecutive body shots, it will disrupt your streak, and that sucks. So for now, I think this one's over in the B, but definitely not like a god-awful weapon by any means, but I think the normal Stalker built rifles are a bit better. Next weapon here is the Heavy Plasma Incinerator. This weapon is just a big damage guy. I mean, the Heavy Plasma has been a great weapon since like the game came out pretty much. They buffed it up like way back when, and they haven't really touched it since. The only major downside of this weapon is that your ammo economy fucking sucks on this thing. Like the ammo economy is just not strong at all. You will run out of ammo all the time if you do not build around that as like an eventuality. But that being said, the damage here is great. The common shot value is great. I think this one deserves to be up in the S tier as a gun. It's still really strong. It's just that ammo economy, but you know, you could probably put in the high A as well, just because the next option we'll get into in a second is a bit better. But you know, I'll put it up in the S. I think Heavy Plasma is still very, very strong, but if you want to put it down in the A, I definitely can't argue with you there. Like, that's a pretty reasonable take. Next thing here is the Relic Battle-Worn Heroic Heavy Plasma. This one just gives you a fully automatic plasma with no charge shots, just like the normal Heavy Plasma. This thing's ammo economy sucks. Actually, this thing's ammo economy is even worse, but that being said, it's a really strong gun. I think it's like the second best gun on the heavy class in general right now. There's one other I'll get into later that I think is the best one, but for now, I think they're like the 2 best in slot options for him. So that kind of like fundamentally puts this one up in the S tier for me. I would put it over the normal Heavy Plasma because common shots on the Heavy Plasma, they actually have a lot of AoE already. They also have amazing contested health recovery. Super underrated weapon effect, to be honest, but this one's very strong. Definitely up here in my opinion. Next weapon here is the Occulus Bolt Carbine. This one is... it's okay. It is okay. I'm gonna actually put this below the B tier here. I mean, there are like headshot multiplier versions on this. I know a lot of Vanguard players like this weapon as well, but at the moment, there are just way better picks on Vanguard and the Tech Marine as well than this one. It's just not that strong. It has like one good variant, and the headshot damage here is nice, but the ammo economy is not that good either on that variant. And I would just say for the most part, it is lagging a little bit behind these other options. You know, if you want to put it up in like the lower B, I can't really argue with you there, but C is where I would put this one. Next weapon here is the Melta Rifle. Okay, so Melta Rifle. I kind of go back and forth on this one. I think this weapon is pretty good. I mentioned before with the Combi Melta that staggering effects are very strong, and this weapon is like all stagger effects. And the contested health recovery here is pretty good. The stagger effect is pretty great. The ammo economy is very strong thanks to rapid health perk effects. It also has armor regen built into it. It also has healing built into it. So overall, this weapon is pretty strong. I actually think the Melta Rifle is better on the tactical than the Vanguard, but I think you could definitely put this up into like top of B or A. I'm pretty sure I put it in A last time. I don't know if I feel that way about it currently compared to the other A tier options, but you know, usually when I take a Melta Rifle, it does perform very well, and like it usually shocks me, so I'll probably put it in like a lower A. The next one here is a weapon people kind of hate, which is the Salamander Melta Rifle. I don't understand the hate for this thing. Like, the charge up on this is a little long, but the damage here is better than the normal Melta Rifle. It has utility the other Melta Rifle does not have, especially against Chaos, where you can just like penetrate like 5 Rubric Marines at once from like a mile away. This weapon is actually pretty decent. I think it is a side grade to the Melta Rifle standard, or like maybe ever so slightly worse than it, but I don't think this one is underperforming compared to the normal Melta that much at all. And the Salamander Melta Rifle, I'd probably put up in like the high B. Like, if you really don't want to put an A, I can kind of understand, but for now, with like one more buff to the charge time on this, I think it'll be up in the A tier with the Melta Rifle. But honestly, you kind of put it there already. But in my opinion, I think this one is pretty decent. Not a top tier pick, but definitely okay. Next weapon here is the Instigator Carbine. This weapon, I'm just gonna put this in the D, dude. You never use this weapon anymore. Like, this weapon is just a pointless weapon to take. I mean, that's kind of true for the Heavy Bolt Rifle. I did put it up in the B, but this one especially, the Instigator Carbine, the other variant, the heroic version, is just like better in damn near every single way. And I just think the Instigator Carbine is kind of a forgotten weapon because of that. I mean, I'm sure players still use this, but if you have the Wrapped Instigator, just use this one because this one has way better damage, way better ammo economy in a lot of cases, and also it just fits the playstyle of the classes it is on far more because say you're playing a sniper, you're going to be using the perk effect targeted shot that gives you a 75% range and damage buff on your next shot, and because Patch 11 actually buffed up that perk to have a lingering effect, you get that bonus damage on all 5 shots of the Wrapped Instigator. However, if you take a normal Instigator Carbine, you're only getting that bonus on 3 shots, so you're actually getting less value as some of your best perks. And on the Vanguard, you want to be 2 feet in front of an enemy anyway, so Wrapped Instigator is way better for that as well, since the only real upside of a normal Instigator is the accuracy at like medium to long range, but this one's pretty good at medium range and great at close, and that fits the playstyle of the weapon in general far better, because if you're playing long range, you're probably not picking this in the first place. So I'd say this one can go up into like the A tier. It is a very strong pick at the moment. Like the Wrapped Instigator is substantially better than the other Instigator Carbine, and I think it is definitely on the level of things like the Stalker Bolt Rifle, and damn near best in slot for some things. Next weapon here is the Pyrecannon. The Pyrecannon got buffed this patch. It has a 15% range increase to the hip fire and the heavy stance. Now, the Pyrecannon has always been lagging behind the Pyreblaster, but in this patch, I think they're actually pretty equivalent. I think the Pyreblaster is a bit better only because it's on the Tactical, and Tactical just makes everything better, because Tactical is just a better class than the Heavy is, but Pyrecannon feels way better now. The big benefit of this gun over the Pyreblaster is that this one does a lot more direct damage. The direct damage of the Pyrecannon is very strong, and you will also apply burn stacks that hip fire far faster than the Pyreblaster, and the ammo economy here is not too bad either. So if you take perk effects like Flash Burn, this one can actually put out a lot more damage on that direct hit than the Pyreblaster can, and I think this one is still up in the A, maybe B. Maybe B. I don't know. I don't know if I put it above these things because I don't know if I'd ever take this like a top tier option. I'll put it in B. Okay, you know, we'll put it in B. I still think it's pretty close to the Pyreblaster, but I do think the Pyreblaster is like a tier above just because it's on tack. But like as a weapon, Pyrecannon is still in the B. I think it's a pretty good spot for it. It's definitely not bad these patches anymore. I think it's actually pretty good. Next weapon here is the Bolt Carbine. Now, I've been putting Bolt Carbine in A for a while, but I have been Bolt Carbine pilled in the past like 2 patches, and this one's S tier. Okay, Bolt Carbine has so much damage at close range, so much contested health recovery, and ammo economy that is like actually kind of insane, that this is just a god tier pick for like both Chaos and Tyranids. You really cannot go wrong with the Bolt Carbine. It is such a strong gun. There's also a hidden effect here where within 10 meters of an enemy, you get a bonus to your headshot damage multiplier, which means if you're playing a sniper or a Vanguard and you just barrel stuff people, you're doing even more damage. That's all this weapon wants to do, and it also has such a strong ammo economy that classes like Vanguard that usually struggle, they will never run out on this option. So Bolt Carbine up in the S tier in my opinion, one of the best guns in the entire game, and part of the best build in the entire game for hard strats and ops in my opinion on the sniper class. Next weapon here is the Marksman Carbine. The Marksman Carbine's also very strong. Now back in patch 12, I don't know what Saber was thinking, but they gave the Marksman Carbine's ammo reserve option and magazine capacity version better headshot damage than the ×2 headshot multiplier version, which means you just have like a 40 round magazine on this thing with like infinite ammo that does more damage than the headshot version. So I mean, this one, I don't think it's as good as the normal Bolt Carbine, but it's definitely up in the A tier. This is actually kind of a goofy gun. I like the Marksman Carbine a lot. It also has like a really fun like little sound effect. The biggest problem I have with this one is it gives you carpal tunnel, but I mean, Marksman Carbine, it may not be as good as the automatic one in my opinion, but it's still very strong. It's just kind of hilarious they gave it like more headshot damage on ammo option, but hopefully they never nerf that. The next weapon here is the Combi Flamer Bolt Carbine. This is the brand new Bolt Carbine in Space Marine 2 patch 14 for the heroic variant, and this is just a Bolt Carbine automatic variant with like 20% less damage and a Pyreblaster attached to it basically. And the real question here is a Combi Flamer, is a Bolt Carbine with less damage worth the trade-off for a Pyreblaster attachment? And the answer for this one is no, in my opinion. I think this one needs a damage buff. I think like if you just gave it like maybe only a 10% decrease from the Bolt Carbine, because the damage here is a little lacking on both portions. It's not a bad gun by any means, but it's not a bad gun because the Bolt Carbine in general is such a strong gun that even with a 20% damage reduction or so, that's not the exact number, but like with a reduced damage, it is still so strong as a gun that it performs very well. It's just, I think you're better off taking the relic tier variants. This one can go in B. I think it's about equivalent to the Deathwatch right now because it's not super strong. It's just not terrible. Next weapon here is the Melta. Melta with the ammo reserve option has very good ammo economy. With the rapid fire version, it has incredible damage output. I don't think I'd say this one's S tier anymore. I think it's fallen off a little bit. Maybe the heroic version will be better, but right now I think the heavy plasma and the heavy bolter are both better, and the Melta is still very strong. I just don't think it's up in the tier it used to be because the balanced parry window here kind of holds it back a bit, and the ammo economy is not super strong on its more damaging variants, but still pretty decent. Next weapon here is the Heavy Bolter. This is the standard Heavy Bolter. This one got a body shot damage buff to its shots, just like all the other Bolter weapons in Space Marine 2 patch 13. That is pretty good, and the Heavy Bolter is a pretty strong gun. The only reason I put over here in like the A tier with the Melta is because of the next variant, which is the Chains of Duty. This is the heroic Heavy Bolter. This is the best weapon on the heavy class, in my opinion. This gives you a fencing parry window, and giving a fencing parry window to the heavy class solves like 99% of his issue, because the problem with balanced parry windows is there are things in Space Marine 2 that you just cannot respond to with a balanced parry window, and if you have a fencing option, it will just give you way more opportunities to actually get off your gun strikes, survive things that would otherwise frame trap you. And the heavy is like the god king of getting frame trapped, so having this option here, I think like de facto puts it as the best. And also, this weapon has no charge up for its max fire rate on the Heavy Bolter, unlike the relic tier, and because of that, your contested health recovery here is also top tier, and it fits very well into other build options of the heroic plasma pistol, because you get all the contested health recovery from this on that instant fire, and a ton of stagger and damage for burst on the other variant. So I think this one's up in the S. I say it's a little bit above the heroic plasma, but definitely a strong gun. Next weapon here is the normal relic tier bolt sniper. Now, the bolt sniper I think is like C tier. I don't think there really is any reason to take the normal variants unless you are not hitting your headshots anymore. Like maybe if you're playing against Chaos, because the heroic bolt sniper is definitely better than this one. I have used this before, but it always feels a bit underpowered after you play with the wrapped bolt sniper rifle, because you're shooting multiple shots in Tyrian warriors all the time. Your ammo economy is pretty good, but I think there are multiple way better options for the sniper than this one if you're not going for like pure damage on a headshot. And I think the Stalker bolt rifle is just like way more forgiving anyways, and has more damage output in the first place. So I think this one goes down to C. I don't think it's a very good gun. Well, I mean, it's an okay gun. It's just kind of like power crept by the next option, which is the wrapped bolt sniper rifle. This weapon is the best bolt sniper rifle in the game. I think this is a super fun option to use. It does kind of suck against Chaos because Chaos hitboxes are just super weird, and like you have to be super careful with how you actually hit them because you will waste ammo all the time. And for whatever reason, Saber said you can't get ammo back from this one on Versatile Precision because they just don't want this thing to have a strong ammo economy outside the headshots, because every headshot on this weapon will replenish your shot in your magazine, which is pretty good for like technical infinite ammo. But Versatile Precision I think would be nice on this, and I really don't think this weapon is stronger than a Bolt Carbine anyways, so I'd say it's up in the A. I think these two are pretty equivalent. I know I put an S before, but I've kind of been Bolt Carbine build since then. Final weapon here is the Last Fusil. Now, the Last Fusil is a funny gun because the Last Fusil is definitely a very strong weapon, but it's actually the worst weapon on Sniper right now. And you're probably thinking like, what do you mean the Last Fusil is the worst weapon on Sniper right now? Well, the thing about Sniper at the moment is in patch 12, they buffed up his camo cloak from a 120-second cooldown to a 90-second cooldown, which means the moment you shoot a bolter weapon like the wrapped Instigator, like the Bolt Carbine, like the wrapped bolt sniper rifle, you'll be canceling your camo cloak and immediately putting it into cooldown. But because that 90-second cooldown exists now, you will get your camo cloak back almost instantly off of like just waiting from like your first shot, which is super strong for the bolt weapons. However, the Last Fusil charge up will not break your camo cloak, so you're wasting cooldown this one compared to the other variants, which is pretty funny. But this weapon's still very strong. I'd say it's up in the A tier, maybe a little bit below the bolt sniper, but it's definitely easier to use against Chaos. I'd say they're pretty equivalent for like different reasons, but the Last Fusil, definitely a great gun, just currently the worst on Sniper for like reasons beyond itself. Now, that is pretty much everything there is for the tier list in patch 14. Like I said before, this is just my opinion. You guys can let me know where you would put these primary weapons in the tier list. I think the tier list here is pretty accurate to my opinion. There might be a couple things I'd move around, but for the most part, I think the best weapons really are just like the Deathwatch Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle, grenade launcher variants, Chains of Duty, Relic Battle Worn Heavy Plasma, and the Bolt Carbine. I think these are all very powerful weapons, and the other options here on the A tier are all incredibly high performing. But that is all I have to say in this one, guys. Let me know what you like in the comment section below and where you would rank these things on your tier list. I think most people will agree the Heroic Heavy Bolt Rifle is top tier. Maybe there's some other things you'd move from like B to A or like A to B. But that is all I have to say in this one, guys. If you like content like this, subscribe for more. And if you want to watch me live, ask questions about the game or just coming out, you can find me here on YouTube or on Twitch with a link in the video description, and also a link to my community Discord. And as always, thank you for watching. Take it easy. Bye.